Hi. Now you've probably heard of Cubasis, which I always assumed is the light version of the full desktop application Cubase. And I have to admit that I never really looked into Cubasis because I figured, why go for the light version if I already have the full version, right? Well, let's go. So I was recently contacted by the team leader of Cubase at Steinberg, mentioning that he really liked my video on Cubase IC Pro, the remote control app for Cubase, and whether I was interested in checking out the Cubasis app as well, the Steinberg DAW app on iPhone, iPad, Android phone and Android tablet. And even though, like I mentioned in the intro, I never really checked it out before, I was kind of curious now what this was all about, what you can do with it, and how far they are with running a full DAW on such a light device after 10 years of Cubase's development already. And I'm especially interested to see if this app could maybe be used as a sort of sketchbook on the road, in which you can start a project, which you can then later finish on the full application on your desktop in the studio. And I will try this out at the end of this video, so make sure you keep watching if you want to see how that works. Now, I'm by no means a Cubasis expert at this point, so I figured I would just take you along for the ride of me exploring Cubasis. And I also don't own an iPad, so I will just try it out on my iPhone 14, which to me also seems just the right size for use as that sketchbook of an initial full project that I was talking about before. Just know that the whole UI of Cubasis will probably be more convenient on the larger iPad screen, but again, I will show it on the iPhone. Now, full disclosure, Steinberg did provide me with the license to try out Cubasis as well as some of the in-app purchases, but all my opinions and experiences in this video are my own. They didn't ask me to make a video in return for the licenses, and they didn't get to see this video before release either. So let's have a look at how and where to get Cubasis and its main features. Now obviously this is an app, so you will be able to get it in the App Store, Cubasis 3 DAW and Studio, for a price of around $50. I think in Europe it was listed for 59 euros. And there's an iPhone version which looks like this, but we'll have a look at it more in a minute. And there's also an iPad version, which obviously has a larger screen size. Now it promises to quickly and easily capture your musical ideas as soon as they arrive and turn them into professional sounding songs with the multi-award winning Cubasis 3. Enjoy performing, recording, mixing and sharing your music in no time wherever you are, right there on your iPhone and iPad. Now there are a couple of in-app purchases after you've bought the base version of Cubasis, for example Classic Machines, a Waves plugin bundle, Waves Realtime, Micrologue ARP, some effect packs, etc. Now if you install this app from the App Store and start it up on your iPhone, it looks like this. And by the way, I'm showing you this via Apple AirPlay, in which I share my iPhone screen on my desktop PC. And even the audio of the iPhone gets captured to the desktop PC, so whenever I play something on my iPhone, you will be able to hear it as well. So there's 3 basic buttons in the main opening screen. You can create a new project, you can open a recent project, and there's a browse option. And on the bottom you have links to the forum, some additional plugin bundles, and tutorial videos by Dom Cigales. Now if I click browse, you can see that there are templates available if I double click on that, and you can use those templates to start up a new project. However, I will go back and go to demos, and I will open the largest demo project so that we get a good idea of what kind of things are possible in Cubasis. Now it asks me to create a new project from the smear template, which is really the demo project, so I'll say OK. And there we go, we get a very familiar view. Kind of looks like the project view in the regular Cubase application. And I can just scroll up and down by dragging on my iPhone. So let's play this demo project for a second to see what it sounds like. And I can pinch the screen to zoom in a bit. And with this button over here, I can also zoom in vertically and zoom out again. So let's move to a more busy part of the arrangement and play there. Yeah, so it's quite a full project, and you can hear that there's also effects on those tracks. So let's quickly go over the main controls. On the top left there, this seems to be a bit similar to the media bay, where you have the hub, which returns you to your opening screen. And if I open recent, I go back to my project. If I select a track which has a virtual instrument, I can open the chord pad. Or if I push this button, I can get a full MIDI keyboard. The next button gives me the mixer view, which is very reminiscent of what it looks like in Cubase, of course. I can click on the top right cross to get rid of the mixer view again. Next up, I can switch between timecode view and bar beat view. I can move to the beginning of the project, move to the next locator, turn on cycle mode and turn it off. Play. I can start recording. I can undo any recording I did already. Turn on the metronome. I can set the tempo, recording mode, time signature and pre-count when recording. This option is for in-app purchases, so for buying the Waves plugin bundle, classic machines, Cubase's effects packs, Microlog ARP, Waves Tune, Waves L1, Waves Audio Track, Waves Q10, and Cubase's Roomworks SE, which is actually free after registration. The cogwheel leads to a lot of settings, project-related settings, general settings, user interface-related settings, and over here I can even vary the screen size. It's now set to Phone XL. If I set it to Phone, I basically get slightly bigger fonts. If I set it to Phablet, then apparently it's a mix between iPhone and tablet size, but let's keep it at Phone XL. Audio-related settings, latency, multi-core processing, audio quality, and over here, for example, you can see that I'm currently streaming to DAW 2021, which goes via AirPlay, so that's why you can actually hear the audio, which I'm recording via OBS on my desktop. There's lots of MIDI-related settings, keys and pads-related settings, metronome settings, and there's an option for mixing down your final mix. Now the buttons on the second row are enabled and disabled based a bit on what kind of track you have selected. For example, the top track is a piano track. If I select that, you can see that I, for example, have the option for selection. I can hold it over here and I can then move it and select multiple tracks at the same time if I would want to. And now I have options to erase, do some drawing, mute them, transpose them, quantize the events. With over here, I have the quantization settings. I can stretch them. I can undo any action I did. I can copy this part, for example, select it, copy, and then paste. And it just gets pasted behind the original part. Let's undo that again. And I also have options here how the app snaps to the grid when I move events or create events, etc. Now on the left side you have the inspector, which is hidden from view a bit by that new bar on the iPhone, but whenever I click something over here, you can see that it comes back in view. I can change my track name if I would want to. I can look at the routing. Since this is a MIDI track, you can see MIDI input ports, which MIDI output it is routing to, and which audio output the virtual instrument that's on this track is actually routed to. Now this is a virtual instrument which is on this track, and if you select List Browse here, you can see that you can choose from a lot of different presets. You can have insert effects on your track, and you can push the E next to the effect to actually set the parameters of that effect and choose other effects if you want to. I can even have send effects. The reverb, for example. There's MIDI effects on this MIDI track. I can have automation, and apparently there's volume automation on this track, although the volume seems to be mostly constant. Oh no, at the end there's a little volume going down movement. I have my notepad to add some notes to this track. Under the channel you can see the fader of the track and the main fader controls. You can select the color for the track, and under system info you can see performance related information. Now if I scroll to the very bottom, you see that there's also the ability to duplicate a track. For example, if I wanted to duplicate this guitar fills track, I would push duplicate. And you can see that there's now a second guitar fills track. Let's undo that, because there's also a button to delete the selected track or to add a new track, and then you can choose between audio track, MIDI track, or group track. So a lot of possibilities, very reminiscent of the full Cubase application. And I've probably only scratched the surface because I'm sure there's lots of deeper features once you start looking at all the details in all those editors that I just showed you. Now at this point, if you like this video or find it useful, please give it a thumbs up for the YouTube algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and if you want to get notified when I post another video, you can ring the little bell icon. For more support, you can use the super thanks button below the video or use any of the affiliate links in the description if you want to buy anything at these stores. I will get a small commission without any extra cost to you. But now let's get back to the main use case of how I would probably use this app as a sort of sketchbook to later be able to import the project to Cubase. Let's have a look. Okay, so in order to export this project, I can go to the media bay here. And if I now choose the smear project, I can choose share. And well, it offers an email option, but I think it might be too big to send this via email. So I'm going to go to other options, and now it's compressing the project to a zip archive, and I can save it to the files on my iCloud drive. So let's go to save, downloads Cubasis. This folder is empty, so let's save it there. And let me now stop the screen sharing and go to my file browser. So this is the folder on my iCloud drive that I saved the zip file to. So let's copy it to my Cubase project folder and paste it over here. Now this takes a while because this was not a local file. It needs to download it from the cloud, but there it is. And if I now unzip this file, you can see that there are some WAV files and a CBP file, which is the Cubasis project file. Now, in order to import this into Cubase, we do need a special piece of software that Steinberg provides, and that is the Cubasis project importer. So there's versions for macOS and Windows, and in order to be able to import the project files from the latest version of Cubasis, you do need version 3.0. There were also older versions of this importer for older versions of Cubasis, but since I just installed the most recent version, I installed the Cubasis project importer 3.0, and after installation you get an extra option in Cubase, because on the file menu bar you can now go to File, Import, Cubasis project, and if I then navigate to the Cubasis export directory, I can click on the smear Cubase project file and open it. And now I need to set a project folder for where I want my full Cubase project to be created. Well, that's one level higher over here. So go ahead. And then for a while nothing seems to happen. Then suddenly I'm seeing a lot of instances of Groove Agent created, along with the Cubasis import was completed. So okay. And let's close all these Groove Agent instances, because what we now see over here is a full Cubase version of the same project. And let's have a listen. Now I do notice that the audio is a bit hot. If I look at the mixer here, the top level is really 0, so let's reduce this a bit. So if you look at what has happened, the MIDI track Piano S90 is converted to a virtual instrument track with Hellion Sonic on there, with the acoustic piano preset. I think there is actually also a better version of that Yamaha S90 piano in there. But for this it is just using standard general MIDI patches, I think. The kick is a Groove Agent patch. The audio is just audio. You can see that there are some send effects on there. You can also see that there are some strip effects on there as well, EQ. So it seems that a lot of what you had on there in Cubasis is imported into the full Cubase as well. Now I haven't looked at everything yet, so maybe some details are missing, but it looks and sounds very promising. So after having a very short look at Cubase so far, I must say that it looks quite full-featured to me already. There's much more in there than I had expected, and I haven't even checked out any of the additional in-app purchases or extensions that are available. This, what I showed you so far, is just the basic Cubasis feature set. Now what I would envision as my main use case for this, as a sketchbook, creating the start of a project which I can then later finish in the full version of Cubase, well, it seems to work. So I'm very happy about that as well. So I think I will keep exploring Cubasis a bit more, at least for myself, to get more ideas of all the details that are in there. And if this video does well and you would like to see more, let me know, because then I'll make some videos about that as well. Now, talking about Cubase apps, I also recently did a video about Cubase IC Pro, which is a Steinberg app to remotely control the desktop Cubase version via your iPhone or iPad. So have a look at that video, enjoy, and see you soon.